morning. It's the appointed hour. It's time to call the February 23rd, 2012 Oklahoma City Trust meeting to order. Our first item on the agenda deals with the minutes of the January 26th, 2012 Oklahoma City Airport Trust meeting. What is the trustees' wishes?
Approve the minutes.
The motion is second. Any discussion? Please cast your votes. And they are so approved. Next up is an update from Mark Cranenberg on the Transportation Security Administration Security Checkpoint Screening Update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. Yes, we do want to provide you this morning with an opportunity to ask questions and learn about a security screening update at our two checkpoints by the Transportation Security Administration. And so I've asked the Federal Security Director for Oklahoma City and Lawton area, Mr. Kevin Donovan, to come forward and give us that update on some new installations happening. The new machines that TSA will be putting in soon is really probably the most dramatic change to our checkpoints that we've had since we rolled out the checkpoints. And so I asked Mr. Donovan to join us today. Proceed.
Thank you for the opportunity to address the trust. And we continue to have an exceptionally strong partnership with the airport under Director Cranenberg's leadership. We work together extremely well, and we are rolling out this new technology along with a lot of other security enhancements together. We always do this in partnership, and we think that partnership is quite strong. We have two types of imaging technology. You've probably read about it in the newspapers. There's millimeter wave and there's X-ray technology. Our airport is going to get the millimeter wave, and I want to talk to you a little bit about that. We have over 600 of these units deployed in combination across 140 airports. Oklahoma City is really at the tail end of our Category 1 airports for TSA in this installation process. So we're sort of at the back end of these Category 1 type airports. And that means there's a lot of experience putting these things in, and we're going to benefit from all that experience. So I want to talk to you about a few things here with regard to this technology. I want to talk to you about passenger acceptance and how that is going nationwide. I want to talk to you about the effectiveness of the technology. I want to talk to you a little bit about privacy and how that's going to work at our airport. I'll talk to you about safety as well, and I'll give you just a few pieces of information about how we plan to install these things in the coming weeks. So that's my plan of attack here. Won't take long, 5 or 10 minutes. Passenger acceptance. Over 99% of all the passengers going through the airports in the United States, over 99%, choose this technology. You can opt out of this technology. AIT is voluntary. You can come to the checkpoint and say, I don't want to be screened by this technology, and that's fine. We will apply an alternative method of screening to you. Unfortunately, that involves some touching. There'll be some pat-downs, but the key point here is 99% of the traveling public has opted to accept this kind of technology. It's much less invasive, much fewer hands-on kind of experiences with the traveling public. So acceptance-wise, it's been categorically accepted across the spectrum here. CBS did a poll. Over 4 out of 5 people nationwide support the use of this imaging technology. The American public gets it. 4 out of 5 understand why we're doing this. We're going to talk to you a little bit more about the effectiveness of the technology, and I think you'll understand where those numbers come from. 4 out of 5 understand this and support what we're trying to do. We've had some controversy with the medical aspects of it, the safety aspects. But I will tell you, too, that, again, for people with disabilities, this is a vast improvement in their eyes. Now that they go through our checkpoints, they don't get touched as much. The people with the joint replacements and and all these prosthetic devices. We have an opportunity now just to focus on that area instead of patting down the whole body. And they, again, from an acceptability standpoint, the people with disabilities are very accepting of this new technology. Effectiveness, I'll talk to you a little bit about that. For us, this technology is a quantum increase in our ability to detect threat objects. It's night and day. In the past, we've had our primary screening technology has been metal screening. You go through that walk-through metal detector. That detects metal threats. There are so many other threats out there that we're concerned with: liquids, powders, plastics. This technology detects those kind of threat objects when they're secreted on the body. Our walk-through metal detectors don't. I will share with you how we mitigated that in the past without AIT. It was subjective. An officer looked at you as you came through the walkthrough, decided subjectively whether or not you had bulky clothing on and maybe required a pat down for these plastics and liquids and powders. Subjective. And each officer is different, and each officer decides whether he thinks that's bulky or not. AIT does away with that. Now we go through that technology and we can see it objectively and in a non-invasive way. So, again, a quantum leap in our ability to detect threat objects, like the Detroit bomber. We believe we would have seen that if that Detroit bomber, the bomber that went and tried to take down the plane going into Detroit, if he had gone through one of these machines, we would have detected that, we think. So just quantum leap in our ability to detect that. What's going to happen, though, when people come through, when they don't understand how good this technology is, they're going to have problems in the divestiture process. What we find a lot of when the new AITs are installed, people used to be able to bring in their, lack of a better term, green leafy substance, for example, on their body. We will detect that. We will detect bulk cash that people tend to have kept on their bodies in the past. We will detect all that. So this will be a change, I think, for our passengers coming through the airport, those people who are trying to secret things that they shouldn't have on their body. It will require our passengers to go through a lot more divestiture. Everything has to come out in your pockets, everything. Belts will come off. So we want to minimize that experience, but our approach is to put an officer out front and help everybody with their divestiture. He will tell folks as they come into the checkpoint what you need to remove, so that when they get into the AIT and they get scanned, they won't have to be patted down for things that are harmless. Talk to you a little bit about privacy. In the past, we deployed machines that required what we call a resolution room. Somebody in a back room looking at raw images. Our machines will not have that. Our machines come with automated threat recognition, ATR, and that software, instead of transmitting a raw image to a resolution room where somebody is viewing raw images of a passenger, our machines will not have that. In fact, it'll have the software, so we will get a generic figure, a stick figure, if you will, if somebody has what we call an anomaly on them. And we'll put a little bounding box around that anomaly someplace on the body, and we'll only pat down that part of the body where the anomaly is. If you have no anomalies, did a good job of divesting all of those objects, you'll get nothing. There will not be a stick figure. There will be actually a green light that says OK. So all the concerns about privacy and viewing images, it goes away with the systems we'll install in Oklahoma City. The passengers, when they come through the technology, they will actually see the same thing that our officers see. They will step out of the X-ray, or step out of the AIT, and you'll see a projection on a screen, and what the passenger sees is the same thing that we see. And only that part, if you have an anomaly, only that part will get patted down. I want to talk to you a little bit about safety. There has been some concerns about safety in the past with these machines, and most of the safety issues revolve around the X-ray technology. People are concerned about the doses of X-ray they're getting. I will tell you again, our machines are not the X-ray machines, they're the millimeter wave. And in fact, we don't have that kind of a problem at all. They're completely safe. All the studies have been done on both technologies, actually, but the technology is safe for children, for pregnant women, people with medical implants. It's been proven time after time to be safe for that. But the main concern has been with the X-ray, and that's not the type of machine we're getting. In fact, our AITs, the millimeter wave technology actually emits about 1,000 times less energy than a regular cell phone call. 1,000 times less energy than a regular cell phone call. The OKC installation at Will Rogers World Airport, we're going to get 2 of these machines in our east checkpoint. They start the installation Monday night. We'll get the first one in our east checkpoint, the second one on Tuesday night next week, and then we get one in the west checkpoint on the 5th of March, next Monday night. 2 Monday nights from now, sorry. We'll roll out the amount of people we send through this technology as we train our officers. We're going to get a cadre trained up front, and then they will train others. So as our training level goes up, our throughput through those machines will also go up with it. We won't try to shove everybody through there right away. We have a bit of a learning curve, and we will attempt to ramp up in conjunction with our training and our experience. The throughput issues, they are actually not the long pole in the tent. The thing that takes the most time when you go through the checkpoint is the screening of your carry-on belongings. That actually takes more time than the screening of the person's body. So we know that we're going to have a slight learning curve as we install this equipment and institute it, and we're prepared for that. We plan for it, but really it won't change the dynamic that actually the X-raying of the property is the long pole in the tent. So we're watching that. My team has gone through a lot of planning, and we're prepared for all these, I think, eventualities. We've timed the installation to be in front of the spring break travel period. Working with Director Cranenberg, we know that we have certain volumes at certain times, and we wanted to make sure that when we installed these machines, we did it at a time that made sense for our community here. So I think we've got it timed right. We've had a few issues in the past with when we were going to put these in here. Our design team was a little bit slow in getting the drawings to us. Our checkpoints are kind of confined in their space, so putting these things in took some careful planning, and I think we've accomplished that. But we've timed the installation so that we're trying not to impact our busiest travel season. Now is a good time to have these things installed from our volume standpoint. We're planning a lot of public affairs and outreach, and this is part of it, talking to the trust here. Ms. Karen Carney and my staff is working together on getting some information out to the public. We know that's important. We want them fully aware of what's about to come, what they can expect when they come to Will Rogers World Airport. So our outreach efforts are going to be ramping up in the next week or two. Just to wrap up, again, I want to add my thanks to this trust to let me talk to you a little bit about the technology. It adds another layer of security to the Will Rogers World Airport. We've instituted a lot of things out there. We've got more things coming from a security standpoint. We have K9 capability now. We're going to have these new document checking machines. We're getting new X-rays in the check baggage. We're getting new X-rays at the checkpoint. This adds just another layer of security. And why we do that is to protect families, your friends, our community in Oklahoma City, our guests that come through here, and we're trying to protect the United States of America. And this adds a capability to help us do that. We care about our job in TSA is to save lives. I tell that to my staff all the time. I tell it to my officers. Everything we do comes back to that. And this capability, this new technology, helps us do that in a better way. Helps us save lives, protect this community. And that's what we're about. So, again, thank you very much. If there's some questions, I'd be willing to take those.
Questions from the trustees?
Well, a comment and then a question. I believe Sky Harbor has these now. I went in January. I came out of Phoenix, and it seems like I went through one of these. And I mean, it doesn't seem to take any more time than the old ones did, and it seemed to be fine. I assume we'll be using a combination of both for a while, but you won't necessarily go through both of them. Is that correct?
Right. So when they're fully up, you always have the option of opting out. We have what we call kind of a zero queue, we call it. But when you get X amount of people waiting for the AIT, then the next person goes through the walkthrough. So you use both technologies. We know that we can't send 100% of our passengers through an AIT. So you try to maximize the use of that machine, and when you get to a certain point where you've got too many people waiting for it, you send them back to the walkthrough. So the walkthroughs will remain. Our goal is to try to pump at least 80% of the folks through that AIT once we're up to full operation. That's our goal, but always some will trickle into that walkthrough lane as well.
I have one question, too. Also, it sounded like there were 3 of these that you mentioned. 3
My
different
hearing,
ones.
sorry,
And the two
Mr. Chairman.
in one area and one in another. 2 units on the east and one on the west. Is there something that has happened to say if that's enough, or, as you talked about passenger throughput, have you studied to see, based on the airport here, if that's going to be adequate to keep the lines from being very long going through?
Yeah, if you visit some airports around here, for example, if you go over to Tulsa, they have more AITs than we do, I believe. But that's a function of the space they have in their checkpoint. We were confined in the amount of AITs we could put into our 2 checkpoints. If at some point we ever went to a centralized checkpoint, we'd probably get more machines. I think the designers would prefer to have 2 at West, but you can't put 2 in West. Just not enough space. So I hope that answers the question. We would like to see more, but right now we're confined space-wise.
Question, sir. The first 2 start to go in when?
Monday and Tuesday night next week.
Okay. But then I heard you talking about Karen and you getting together with some type of an announcement program for the traveling public.
Yeah, I should have brought that
You mentioned several
up.
weeks. It would seem to me that we should have already had the notification going out to our traveling public, or am I missing something here?
They are being starting the installation next week, but they will not be totally operational until, I think our target date is March 7th, is when they will actually have them operational for the public, because there needs to be a training curve of the staff. Additionally, the TSA communications from the Southwest region will be working to have a media exclusive day to give them a preview prior to it actually being opened up to the public.
7 March is the day we plan to invite the media out and take pictures and take video, and we'll answer questions again there. We've made the public announcement, though, Oklahoma City Will Rogers Airport will be getting these things. That announcement went out. But I think it's important that we continue the outreach program ahead of when we go fully operational. And again, it's a ramp up for us. 7 March, you'll start seeing folks, frankly, screened in the East checkpoint probably the first week in March, a few, and we'll ramp that up. And I think during that week, we'll continue to expose what we're doing here and with through our outreach campaign. So we know that this is important to get the word out to the community, and together we're taking the steps to do that.
From what I heard you say, the deployment of this around the country, and Gary's testimony from Sky Harbor, if you're a frequent flyer, you probably have already been through one of these at some other airport.
Yeah. Boy, I should like to talk to you about that program. It depends on how much time we have, but through Mr. Pistol's activities, his programs, his initiatives, there's a risk-based security program. We at Will Rogers World Airport are not in line to get what's called pre-check, where a frequent flyer who has opted into the program provided a lot of information to TSA so that we can vet you and make your experience through the checkpoint easier. We are not currently scheduled to get that program instituted here. Don't know when we will. They're starting with the biggest airports, the Category X's, but eventually that will roll out to us. Frankly, we're not sure how we're going to do that. Again, we got some space issues there, and we can't dedicate a single lane for that program at Will Rogers because you don't have enough throughput to dedicate a lane to that. Frequent flyers, people with top secret military clearances, maybe members of the trust, you know, the people that we don't need to screen, we know that they are not a threat to aviation security in this country. We'd rather spend less time on them screening them. I'd rather concentrate on the people that we don't know anything about or we know a lot about and they turn out to be bad folks. We want to screen those people. We want to apply scrutiny to them. We don't need to apply the scrutiny to the people that we know are not a threat. And that's the direction that TSA is taking. How do you operationalize that at an airport? It's a little bit tricky. You've seen one airport, you've seen one airport. So we have to figure out how that's going to work at our airport. Not quite sure yet, but I'm exceptionally excited about that. It's the right way to go. It's screening for intent instead of screening for things. It's screening of people and their backgrounds, and it's absolutely the right way to go. So I'm not sure how we're going to get there at our airport. It is being figured out over time at our headquarters, but it's an exciting thing for us to anticipate. Hope that helps answer that.
Any other questions from the trustees?
Just to follow up to a couple of comments he made, Mark, if I'm not mistaken, our master plan at the airport does include a much larger check-through area, so that if we need to accommodate more machines or the new lane for frequent flyers or something, we can take care of that in the new plan.
Several months ago, the Airport Trust received the terminal plan update, and that did have the central security checkpoint and other terminal improvements in the central terminal in that plan. We're underway with a pretty massive design project now to completely overhaul the checked baggage inspection system, and we don't want to be too disruptive to our airline attendants and the passengers, but once that project is underway and in the process of wrapping up, I certainly want to bring a status report back to the Trust and make you aware of some plans that we'd like to go forward with to improve efficiencies and throughput through our checkpoints, because there are new things that are available to the travelers that haven't been in the past. We also recently installed a priority lane for the airlines, and we were able to fit that, but only at the West checkpoint, and that's been very well received. I also might mention in relation to the advanced imaging technology installation, airport staff will be issuing the airport press release. Even though this is TSA's deal, we are putting out a press release soon that will give information on this installation and a little bit on how the machines operate, and try to be clear that there are different machines out there, and we want the public to know that we're getting the best of the technologies. Thank you, Mr. Don.
Gee, Gary, I thought we just remodeled.
The airport's like my wife, it's never through.
Thank you.
Thank you,
everybody.
sir. Moving on with our agenda, director's report.
Thank you. I do have one item on the report, and we have more good news at Will Rogers World Airport. And I'm pleased to report that Delaware North Companies, which is our master concessionaire at Will Rogers World Airport for all of the food and beverage concessions, has now contracted with a major coffee concept. And so I want to show you a couple of slides of where this new concession will be located in the terminal. So as you see, Delaware North is going to be contracting with Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf. As you see, they offer innovative concepts of lots of unique products. They have 22 varieties of premium coffees and also all kinds of gourmet teas. And it's a company that has been in business for a very, very long time. In a little bit, I'll ask our Delaware North master or local manager for Oklahoma City to come up and talk a little bit about the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf operation. But you can see they're in 22 countries and including 27 airports, and they're very big on the West Coast and other places around the country, but primarily in the West. Here are some store concepts of Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf at other locations in Los Angeles, Detroit, and Phoenix. And this is the area that we are going to be placing the new concession. This is, if you looked from the central terminal to the west, we have a large open area there, and this is just prior to going down the ramp into the west concourse. So it's a very large area, and this is another angle. And so we're going to be taking out the video display, the massage chairs, and some seating. And the Southern Nazarene University advertising display, which is on contract with our advertising contractor, we have been in communication with Delaware North, Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, and Southern Nazarene University to redo that advertising, to keep it in the same location, but to raise it and reconfigure it so that it will be amenable to the new concession. And then this is sort of a rendering. We're not sure where the Southern Nazarene University ad will actually go at this point. This is just a conceptual rendering, but this is where you see the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf. The Delaware North concession has always had this space in their contract at Will Rogers World Airport. We just have not had an approved concept to put a concession in this area. However, we have been working for a very long time to bring a premium coffee vendor to the airport, and we think that this will be very, very big for Oklahoma City and the airport. Mr. Roland Artavia, I'd like for you to come up just to give a little bit more information on how you came to be associated with Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf and what that concession will mean to the airport, your business, and our community.
Great. Thank you for having me. Like Mark said, we've been working with Mark and the staff for quite some time trying to bring a national brand of coffee into Oklahoma City. Although some Oklahomans may not be familiar with the brand, they've been around for about 50 years. They started out in Southern California, in Brentwood, in 1963. And what really separates them from the other brands is the process of which they choose their coffee and their tea leaves. They've actually been around for such a long time. For generations, they've had a good relationship with plants and coffees. They only choose the top 1% of the Arabica coffees. That's really what separates them. They've built relationship with private coffee farms and tea estates, and also their roasting is something special that they do. They have a European style type of roaster, and they roast these beans in small batches, which is something really unique. And I think for the Oklahoman traveling public, I think they will give them a variety and more choices than just coffee. They also have iced tea, iced coffee drinks, non-coffee drinks. Like Mark said, about 20 different kinds of different teas. They have a master tea expert that he hand selects each tea batch or each tea leaf from each batch. He hand selects. Everything is handcrafted. So it's really, really, I feel it's really a good brand. It's innovative. They're really an icon internationally. So that's more or less what they're about. I think it'll be good for the public, and it'll offer them a really good experience at the Will Rogers Airport.
Thank you, Mr. Artavia. I know that we had Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf come into the airport and share with staff some of their coffees and teas at your request to have them come and visit with us, and I know many of us got the opportunity to taste some of those beverages, and we all had a pretty good buzz by the end of the day. I don't think anybody slept that night because we had so much. But this will be a great amenity to the airport, and Delaware North is in the process of securing the permits at this time, and we're hoping that we can be under construction with the new concession in just a couple of weeks, and with the, I think, the completion hopefully by mid or end of summer. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Mark, is related but not exactly on point, but we were through the airport a couple of days ago. Your new retail just looks great.
Thank you.
I want to congratulate you on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments from trustees? Thank you all. Let's move on to the agenda. Roman numeral 5, Will Rogers World Airport.
Thank you. Under Will Rogers, we'd like approval for item A to approve the resolution for the operational procedures for all courtesy vehicles at the airport. Item B is to approve a permanent easement, to grant a permanent easement to the City of Oklahoma City to provide water and sewer system and associated facilities in the former vacated plat of Zedna and 3rd Edition. Item C is approve supplement number 3 to the cleaning and janitorial services contract with Flagship Airport Services, Inc., extending the term of their contract commencing July 1, 2012. Item D is approve the contract for professional services with H.W. Lochner, Incorporated, to pave and construct a perimeter road around runway 17 left and 35 right. This is the east parallel runway at the airport, in the amount of $275,700. Item E is approving supplement number 7 to the management services agreement with Amco System Parking, approving annual budgets and extending the term for 1 year commencing April 1st, 2012. Item F, approve change order number 1 for the Building 30 roof replacement project at Mike Maroney Aeronautical Center, adding $4,537.50. That's all items for Will Rogers.
You've heard the items for Will Rogers. What are the trustees' wishes?
Move item 5.
A motion is second to move item 5. Any discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes. And is so ordered. Wiley Post.
The only item for general aviation is approving the use agreement with the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust and the City of Oklahoma City for a 33,766 square foot permanent easement, and also a temporary construction easement of 33,714 square feet. This is to replace the water tank and associated pump site facility that serves certain airport facilities for fire protection at Wiley Post Airport.
Trustees, you've heard the item under Roman numeral 6 for Wiley Post and Clarence Page. What is your wishes? The motion is second. Any discussion? Please cast your votes. And is so ordered. Under General.
Item A is to receive the delinquent accounts receivable report, construction project status report, and the budget to actual report. Item B is to approve the request for bids for the maintenance services for elevators, escalators, and moving walkways, authorizing advertisement for bids open on March 27, 2012. Item C is approving the plans and project manual for the annual painting, maintenance, and repairs contract, authorizing bids to be open on March 20th, 2012. Item D, approve Addendum 1 for the 2012 annual electrical and street lighting repairs and maintenance contract, accept the staff recommendation on the bids opened on January 18th. Adopting the resolution to award after 30 days to Dane and Associates Electric Company for $200,000 or 365 days, whichever occurs first. And last, item E, approve supplement number 2 to the contract for professional services between the Airport Trust and G4S Secure Solutions, Incorporated. This is our supplemental security contract, renewing the contract for 1 year commencing March 1, and amending the contract to provide for security services on all trust properties.
You've heard the items under general, Roman numeral 7. What are the trustees' wishes?
Move approval.
A motion is second. Any discussion? Seeing none, cast your votes, and it is so ordered. Lease agreements.
Item A, approve supplement number 3 to the hay cutting agreement with Dean Wicker, extending the term of the original agreement through December 31st, 2012. This is at Wiley Post Airport. Item B, this is to approve supplement number 3 to the lease and concession agreement with Delaware North Companies Travel Hospitality Services to provide for the lessee's modification of the space for the coffee bean and tea leaf specialty coffee, tea, and pastry operation at Will Rogers. Item C is accept the assumption agreement and use guarantee for the sale of a T-Hanger Unit 408 from Ronald and Susan Spencer to TL Aviation LLC as provided by the lease agreement with PWA Incorporated at Wiley Post. Item D, also accept the assumption agreement and use guarantee for the sale of T-Hanger Unit 502 from Helen Holbird and Dolores Crockett to Halpane Engineering as provided by the lease agreement with PWA Incorporated at Wiley Post. And one more, item E, accept assumption agreement and use guarantee for T-Hanger Unit Cell 1308 from Helen Holbird to Halpane Engineering, also at Wiley Post. Item F is approving ground services agreements with various companies for ground transportation services at Will Rogers World Airport for 1 year commencing March 1st. We'll see these periodically for the next couple of months as we are in the renewal of all of our ground service agreements, and these are all taxi cab and shuttle van operations. That's all items under leases.
You've heard the items under leases. What are the trustees' desires? Motion is second. Any discussion? Seeing none, please cast your votes. And it is so done. Item 9.
Request approval of the requisitions, please.
Trustees' wishes?
Move approval.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Cast your votes. And it's so ordered. Item 10 is a request to go into executive session. Can I have a motion to that effect?
So moved. Second.
And please cast your votes. And we will move into executive session. We will return shortly. We have returned from executive session. Are there any comments from trustees? Seeing none, any comments from staff? Any comments from citizens?